Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. We're back. We took a little, 2-week break. That's because I wasn't here. Now I'm here.
Now you're back. We saw a bunch of movies while we weren't back. One of them is Minari. Stars Steven Yeun. It's got a whole little ensemble family of a cast. And the film's about a family of Korean immigrants that decide, working in a factory for the rest of my life, like that's not a real life. They go, father brings his whole family to Arkansas, and they decide to, make it on their own. They buy a great big piece of land, very American dream-esque. Can they do it? Can they make this work? Is his willpower to get through this struggle gonna be worth it in the end? His family's very upset about it. The two forces at play here is kind of like, on one hand, it's capitalism. Like, we have to make it, and we have to work really hard to make it. On the other hand, seems like that drive and having to make it is at the expense of family time. It doesn't completely break the family apart, but it threatens to.
Mostly with Steven Yeun.
Yeah, but I actually understood his character really well. I understood why he wanted to make a new life and give that to his children as an example, to say you don't have to just be a cog in the wheel. But as we know, it's so hard, especially for an immigrant family starting with nothing, for them to break into the middle class, or even just out of that struggle phase. It's just so daunting. I mean, it's at the expense of his family. The wife is in sort of a disagreement with him. Therein lies the conflict.
And the rest of the family is just kind of chilling and having fun. We got little boy Alan Kim, who's kind of the lead in this movie. Maybe you could argue he's a co-lead with Steven Yeun.
I guess. Little kids can't be leads. It's not possible.
No, not for the Oscars, it ain't. You have his sister, who's very good. And then the grandmother comes along, at the end of the first act. She's hilarious. Fun, kooky grandmother in a sitcom-y way, doesn't get along with the little boy at first because he's weirdly adamant about her, not meeting his expectations of what a grandmother is and what a grandmother does. But they eventually form this very heartwarming bond that to me was the core of the film. Other people sort of have, find different cores in this film, I think.
Yeah, I kind of said what the core was for me.
I think that's what I enjoyed the most about it. I mean, obviously, I think some of the best scenes in the film come from the conflict between Steven Yeun and Yeri Han, his wife. Those are definitely some of the most wrenching in the film. I feel the middle of the movie, to me, the most interesting thing going on was the development of the relationship in the family. Because on the other hand, in that part of the movie, you have Steven Yeun trying to get the water working for the plants and everything. And at that point, sure, I felt his character faded a little bit from the story.
Why did you feel that was the core for you? I get that it's part of the movie and it's very endearing and heartwarming and funny, but why is that that's what resonates with you?
Because the movie's about family, bro. It's about family. It's about that's the emotional core of the movie, is it not?
It's a very funny and charming movie, and the dialogue's really good. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's a really well-written movie. I think this screenplay nomination will be very deserved for this.
And so some of the conflicts between Steven Yeun and the wife, they're really well written. They feel very real. I like those scenes the best actually in the movie, and I think their performances are really great. I wouldn't care if they were all nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're all kind of worthy. Steven Yeun might have trouble in his lead category, since I think he's a lead in the movie. I kind of disagree with what you were saying all year. Well, I came out of it being Steven Yeun is a lead, but because he's in it less, I think it would be difficult for him to break in. But I do think Mother and the grandmother are worthy of nominations. Seems like the grandma's getting a little more hype. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Both of them are worthy of nominations. A double nomination would be a dream come true. Get Yeri Han and Ye Jung-yoon in there. But I'm okay if just Ye Jung-yoon gets in there. I've been championing her. I think she was my favorite performance in the movie. She's such a lovable grandmother. And that actress is apparently really big and respected in Korea. It would be really cool to see her get nominated. And I think that she is squeezing in that top 5 as Minari climbs the ladder. Yeah. Steven Yeun, on the other hand, I thought in the beginning of the year he might have a shot if he's in supporting. I'm not sure that he has a shot in lead, but there's actually a lot of buzz there, so we can't deny that.
I think he'll get a Critics' Choice nomination.
Yeah.
And some critics nominations, for sure. I think critics really like him from Burning. I have a harder time seeing him breaking in towards the end of the year at the bigger awards bodies. I will say, I was very charmed and on board with the movie, but when the ending came, I was a little underwhelmed. It felt like the ending made a little bit of a compromise on the story and a little bit of a too tidy way. I'm not really sure. Everybody kind of softens in their sort of polarized positions a little bit. The situation that brought that about was like a little bit artificially like
That's
inserted
actually-
into there, which I know you kind of agree with.
I think it's trying to show that like the American dream is very unstable, but I agree that it was a little artificial of a way to do things.
I don't know if it's much of a statement though, just saying like it can collapse. You know, maybe I'm just an American, but I really just wanted, like, I really want Steven Yeun to like get where he wants to go. I like that the American dream is not like dead in the end or anything like that. It's not a pessimistic movie, and it does make you appreciate that there is this possibility out there to succeed. So I appreciate it for that. But yeah, it just came across as like more soft in the end. And I was like, okay, all right. I really enjoyed the movie. Love the dialogue, love the performances. I'd watch it again. It was just very enjoyable. In the end, I think it did what it wanted to achieve, and I think most people are gonna like that direction. It might not have been like the best direction for me, and I would watch this again to see if I think a little bit differently.
I wonder if I am fully getting like the core of what it's going for, because to me, I can't tell if it's more complicated than I think it is. I don't know if you kind of agree with that.
I agree a little bit. Like there are perhaps like some symbols that I just missed. Is putting the genders into a box like a comment on how like women and men are forced into very specific roles in American life? Like there's definitely a lot of like symbolism there, which is why the writing is interesting. It might just be like what it is. I think it's probably what it is.
I think it's like a funny, charming, heartfelt story, and we can't get enough of those. With amazing performances, really nice cinematography, great direction, writing, and the fucking score. Emil Nasseri, he is the next great composer.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
here.
the score is amazing.
I hope it gets nominated for score.
There's like a good chance it'll get snubbed though.
Last Black Man was the best score that year. Kajillionaire was bumping that score on Spotify. That's a great score as well. Will the movie be nominated for Best Picture? Because we think that screenplay is likely. I would say Ye Jung-yoon is a top 5 contender. And I would say score is iffy.
If this were another year, if this were last year, my answer would be no. It doesn't get nominated. But this year, we have a drought of films. We have like a significantly less contenders. And for that reason, this could very well take that slot number 8 or slot number 9. It could also just barely miss with like a screenplay nomination and like maybe supporting actress, especially if they go down to like 8. This really might be like the 9 or the 10 this year. Yeah, I think it's very much on the fence. And I think that's where it will continue to be positioned.
I would also say it sort of depends on Steven Yeun. Like, I feel like if he's in, the movie's got to be in.
If he gets nominated everywhere, then yeah, that definitely helps it.
Or if it gets like SAG Ensemble, then to me it would like clearly be in. My rating has not changed because I haven't seen the movie again. So it remains a 9 out of 10.
I'm going to go with a very good 7. It can be officially like a 7, but like maybe it goes to an 8 the next time I see it.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
You tending to your crops?